Hi, my name is Lorraine Watry and welcome to my studio. I am a watercolor artist and I've worked with watercolor for 26 years now, and I thought I would start a new series of videos where I go over different tips, tricks, and techniques for working with watercolor. And hopefully these short videos will help you in your journey, and if you have a question or a technique that you would like to see, please comment below and I will try to accommodate that in a future video. Today I am going to go over creating water with soft focus or soft edged waves and or movement in the water. And I had someone ask me to do a quick tip video about creating that, and so that is what we're going to do. And you may notice I've started wearing a glove on my left hand because I hold my paper towel or my towel in my left hand, and I just decided that because of some of the pigments that I'm using, like cobalt, which is a heavy metal and is really not good to ingest, just to be on the safe side, I've decided to start wearing a glove on my left hand. And these are reusable. It's just a garden glove that has a coating on the one side and it's cloth on the other. And I just figured it was a way to keep from possibly getting something in my skin. So then I am going to quickly just do a quick box here so that this would be give me something to use as my water or as my frame for my water. And then I'm going to pull out I think I'll use cerulean here, and I'll just get that out. And I am going to do this wet on wet. I will use my first coat of paint of the cerulean as my base wet layer. You could put water down first, but because I'm going to be doing this with some speed, then the second layer will be cerulean as well, but just thicker. So this first layer will act as maybe if I had wet paper, except that I need more water in it because I want to make sure it is wet enough that when I come back with the second layer, it's still damp. And if you're watching, you can see that the paint is collecting or beading at the bottom of this shape. And that is what I'm looking for, wetness, moisture-wise. If it is too dry, when I go to put the second layer on this area, then I won't get the effect I'm looking for because the second layer will not have the soft edges if it's too dry. All right, so I have that on there. That would be maybe my base color for my water. And then I need to give it just a few seconds. If it's too shiny, then the paint that I put on next will just spread out into the water around it, and I won't get the look of a wave or movement in the water. And then I have gone back to my paint over here and I've pulled out a little more pigment, and I'm going to actually dry the back edge of my brush just a little bit, because when I put this on, I want it to leave a mark and not spread out into the paint around it. So I'm watching, this edge up here is a little dry, so I can come into that edge. And when I go to make my stroke, I am thinking of maybe how a wave might look, and so I am making maybe thicker sections and then thinner sections. And as long as my paper has lost a little bit of the shine, I will have that darker area show up for me without spreading out into the lighter area. I'm going back for a little bit of paint, and I am not adding water to my brush, but I'm going to dry it just a little bit to make sure that it's still not too wet. And all right, now if See, as this starts to dry, if it starts to be a little too light, or maybe the color moved into the area around it a little more than I wanted, I can go back, as long as my brush is not too dry, or the pigment that I'm putting on, I can go back and add color to that area. So same thing here, I could go back into it. If your paper has started to dry a lot, you'll start to get hard edges, and that's what I'm trying to avoid here. And so maybe this one, maybe I want that area to be a little lighter, and this one has started to fade into the area around it, so I could go back and add a little more color to that area. And it is still wet enough down here toward the bottom that I may still end up having to go back into that one, but that is the basic idea. So you're going to end up, when you do this method of wet on wet, you're going to end up with soft edges, and depending on what your image is, you can get that look of movement in the water, or motion of the wave, and it will have that soft, distant effect to it. Now there is another way that you can do this, and I should have done this section first, because if I want to have some background color, it needs to be dry in order to do this effect. So I'm going to paint this on. I will dry this right quick, and then I will be right back. So first thing is, I'll still use the cerulean. I'm going to take the paint that was on my palette with a lot of water in it, and just get that down this section right quick. Still, I need to have enough water that, and my board is tipped. I have it tipped about 2 to 2.5 inches, even up to 3 inches would be fine. Some people like to tip their board even farther than that, but all right, and I will dry this, and then I will be back to show you the other way that you can create a wave or a motion in the water that has soft edges. Let me dry it, and I'll return. All right, I have dried this area, and so this could be any color your base water might be, and it may have more than one color in it depending on what you're doing. And then I will pull out some more of the cerulean, and this method, there's a couple things that you can do with it. You may decide you want to place a wave on there, or color in the water where there's some color change, and you don't want that to be hard-edged, and so you can paint that shape on hard-edged, and then you could come back with some water, and I would give it just a few seconds. If you go into this too quickly, it's going to move a lot. And what I'm going to do first is, I'm kind of giving it a few seconds to start to dry. What I will do first is I am going to paint the water away from the area that I am going to be touching with my brush. And I can do the top edge, get that going, because the bottom edge has still got a little bit of color on it. And I am painting away from where I will be wanting the water to move to. This may actually be a little close right here. We'll see when I get to it. So basically I put the water all up in here, and I'm about maybe eighth of an inch away from my shape. Whoops, I did not need paint on my brush. And so now I'm going to go and just take my brush and just touch right next to that top edge of the wave or the shape. And I am just gently basically waking up that edge a little bit with the water. And so now this edge will be soft edged, and you can see this edge is still hard edged. I will do the same thing on the bottom down here, but first of all, I dried my brush, and I'm going to just lift a little bit of that pigment that's still trying to dry at that bottom edge. Okay, so then I'm going to take clear water, and this time I'll come out, maybe an inch or so away from the wave, and that gives it room for the wave, or not the wave, for the paint to move. If I just put a little bit of water, maybe 1/4 of an inch out, the paint that's going to move into this area could move and create a new hard edge. So I want to just give it enough room that it can move but not create a new hard edge. And that's why I usually put the water farther out. Alright, so now both of those edges have hard edges. This edge right here is a little fuzzy looking, and that's part of creating a soft focused object. But sometimes with a just gentle stroke, sometimes you can go back, as long as you don't have a lot of moisture on your brush. So my brush is almost dry, it's just damp. You could go back and adjust that edge just a little bit. You don't want to mess with it too much, because you might end up moving something that you don't want to move. So there is that way right there that you can go back and soften an edge of a shape you've already put in for water. And then the other way that I can do it is I could just decide I want to put a soft edged shape, and I'm just going to wet right back over that water that I put on there before. And so my bottom paper is dry, or my color is dry, and then I'm putting clear water in that area, and I can come in with some paint. This is not really wet, it's just kind of shiny, so I can come in and place some more color in here to give me some movement or some look of waves in there. Now I am making this pretty dramatic with the color change, so I have a very lighter value and then going darker by a lot so that you can see that. But you might, for certain water scenes, you might just want a gentle value change, something that's not a lot different. Because I will often see that in water where there's just a little bit of a subtle change of value. So I would look at your image and see what it needs. But those are two ways that you can create a soft-edged shape in water. And this one was done wet on wet. You could put the water down first, apply a light color, and then put a darker color over it. Or like I did, I just used the light color as my first wet stage and then put the darker color in there. And then this one was done with the surface, my first color dry, and then I painted on the dark color and then came back and softened the edge with some water. And this one was done by painting water over that first layer of color and then adding some color, just kind of like that one at the top. So there's several different ways that you can play with softening edges, and they can be used in a lot of different things, not just water. So I hope that answers the question that was put to me, and I will be putting out more of these tip and trick videos. So if you like them, please like and subscribe, and let me know if you have a suggestion for a future video. Have a good day. Bye.